It is my honor and privilege to introduce our speaker, Mayor Charlie Jessup. Mayor, come on up here. Mayor is currently the chairman of the Fort Bend Mayor and Council Association. He proudly served our country as a sergeant in the United States Army. His first involvement with the city was as a member of the Meadows Place Parks Master Plan team in 1997. He and his wife Elaine were married in 1983 and are blessed with 3 sons. Charles, James, Mark, and 9 wonderful grandchildren.
Yep.
That count still good? Okay.
That count's still good.
All right. The Jessups chose to move to Meadows Place in 1985 after a lengthy search for a safe place to live. They had a small town feel and a superior school district. Someplace they want to call our place for life. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Charlie Jessup.
Thank you very much. Okay, I've got all kind of technology turned on. I hope some of it works. There's the clicker. Jeff, you just wrecked half my opening up when I was going to introduce my council and my staff. But since we already did that and you took all the esteem on Tia, who is remarkable, I want to just say thanks a bunch and welcome to being here. And I want to welcome to the state of the city of Meadows Place. City of Meadows Place is, Nick, this is for you. The city is strong. People are safe. Property values are going up. That's for Kurt. Young professionals are squeezing into our city, and they're trying, and they're finding out inventory is kind of hard to find, but they're moving there anyway, and that's good. They're seeking us out, and we are financially stable, and we're pretty tickled with that. I do want to say thank you to the sponsors. Carrie, that's for you because I value this, and Jeff, so thank you for being here. We have some stuff going on in Meadows Place. And breaking news, and you're hearing it first, maybe. I don't know. Where do I push this thing? What direction? Is it on?
It is. It might have died. I'll stand right here.
You're going to do what?
I'm going to take care of it for you.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Let's do that. This is Rebecca. And apparently Charlie can't operate without Rebecca. So first breaking news is we're turning 40 years old this year. And you heard it first right here in the Chamber of Commerce. We've done a lot in the last 40 years. Paige was talking. She used to come over when she was a bunch younger and hang around Meadows Place and has seen all the changes that we've done. Carrie says I've got less than 40 minutes, so I better keep on going and hurry up. But besides the question I get of where is Meadows Place, I get this question right up here. Are you a city? And then I go, yes. And then it's followed up by a real city? As I stand here with my mayor's badge on. I can't help it. But yeah, Meadows Place, if you didn't know, was in Stafford's ETJ. But they created a municipal school district, and their district boundaries have to coincide with the city boundaries, so they couldn't take us in. Well, Houston was making noise at grabbing people. And we had some folks who didn't want to be any part of Houston because we're in Fort Bend County, except for the back end of our wastewater treatment plant. It's in Harris County, Houston. But we didn't want that. And we had some people after Sugar Land said, no, you're too far away from town. Now think about that. In 1983, town in Sugar Land was on 90. We were way over there on the other side of those cotton fields. So they said no, and left us out there, and some people Some of you will recognize the name Don Cook for the Don Cook Natatorium. Sue Troyan, who was our first mayor, and some other rabble-rousers got together and said, hey, we need to do something. So they petitioned the state of Texas, and the state of Texas said okay and let us incorporate. But yes, it's true. We are almost 1 square mile. And we've got a population of 4,767, and of those, 3,708 are registered voters. And we do a pretty good job of that most of the time, just letting you know. Andy already knows. He knows by the end of the day who's voting and who isn't. But we were created in 1967. We were incorporated in 1983. And we were incorporated as Meadows, Texas. Flip it is. Meadows, Texas. Not Meadows Place, but Meadows. And that was in 1983. And we started out in a mall. Deauville Mall is where we were headquartered, and if you wanted to go to the cop shop, you had to go to the back of the mall. And they had their own private door, and you couldn't go in unless you're going in the police department. We lived in there for a while until we got some facilities built, and we loved being in the Meadows. And everybody called us the Meadows. Matter of fact, one of our council members just stood up and said, council member for the Meadows. Not that I noticed. But anyway, we were incorporated in 1983 as Meadows, Texas. But there was some place up in west of Lubbock. So if you go up by Lubbock and you head out and you find a spot with nothing in it and you make a left, and you go out there past that dusty, sandy area, you'll find Meadow, Texas. All 250 people at that time, and they made us change our name. So the post office said, got to change it. We thought they were kidding. We said, well, okay, that's fine. We'll just run we'll be the Meadows, because everybody calls us the Meadows anyway. And they went, no, you won't, because the Woodlands has the. So we had to find a new name, and that was the first contentious thing I'd ever attended in the city council meeting, was selecting a name. But that's how it ended up being Meadows Place. And for a number of years, we were very happy being the Meadows, and now we're very happy to be Meadows Place. Well, let's leap forward to see what's going on new. And since this is a Chamber of Commerce, we thought we'd start with some commercial changes that have taken place recently in City Meadows Place. If you'll notice up there on the top, that's an Aldi. And Bob Graff, who is the head of our EDC, is unable to be here today. He's a doctor, wishing him the best. But he worked for about 3 years to get that Aldi in our little bitty city. And it's a little bitty store in a little bitty city, and it's a great fit. And then he worked on the other side of the street, and we got this thing called Starbucks, making my city secretary and parks director just ecstatic. So we're always happy, and if they walk in about 3 minutes late, I always see them with a Starbucks cup in their hand. But we're liking that. And if you want another coffee cult, we've got a Tim Hortons moving in. Yeah, and if you're from Austin or Canada, you know what I'm talking about, apparently. So those that know are all excited about Tim Hortons. And we just opened up, a couple months ago, a Cabo Bob's. And if you've never eaten at Cabo Bob's, shame on you. It is a fun little place to eat. They got good food. Everything's fresh every day, and you get to see them make your tortillas and all that. Go by and check them out. They're where the old James Coney Island used to be. While you're there, you can go over to Jiffy Lube and get a car, or get your oil changed. It's opening up in probably 3 weeks or so. It'll be cranking in. This is all new, relatively new to Meadows Place, and we don't seem like there's a lot going on, but there is. We opened up an O'Reilly Auto Parts, and boy, was that a handy thing for our city, because we had to go for a long way to find an auto parts store, and we can't. And coming across is 2 dentist offices, one for children, one for adults. Not related. They just happened to be talking, trying to get in the same building, said, let's pull this together and kind of, you're marketing it, Dave, see how that could benefit people. And so they did. I also want to tell you that I'm excited about a couple of shops that are going to move into Meadows Place soon, but I'm not at liberty to say anything. But I'm excited. So there's always going on something in Meadows Place. We're here talking to commercial people and engineers and all financial people. If y'all know of anything, remember, we got 9.4 acres that might be vacant, and we got a couple of beautiful pad sites for you, so come on and see us. Now some news that also affects commerce and a community, and that's a new school. On the right, you see a time-lapse photography that took place over, a year and a half where they built that school. It's because they came into us one day and we got a call and said, hey, we're going to tear your school down. Thanks a lot. That was on a Friday evening about 8 o'clock. By Saturday morning, we had mobilized. By Sunday evening, we had half of the city with red T-shirts on that said #SaveME. The ME is for Meadows Elementary. We got together, and Cameron Miller was part of that group that got together along with almost all the parents of kids. Kurt, you remember that passel of folks that all got together, and that's some of the best mayor I have ever done. It was great. I unlocked the door and got the heck out of the way. But it's marvelous. And that school is, we took down the second oldest elementary school in Fort Bend ISD, where if I wanted to pass a note to T, I could just walk up to the wall and go right through the wall because they were cracked. And we got rid of those, and we have built, as you can see, a 21st century learning center that is fabulous. And it meets the security standards that are kind of wanted by people today as well. And the other one certainly didn't have it. But if you know, you'll notice later where that sits in our city, it's just about in the center of our city, unlike so many schools today. And that was built to be the center of the community. And everything takes place around that school. And it is, in fact, the heartbeat of our community. And we're thrilled to have it there. And but one of the things that Meadows Place has always done is we're always alert for new opportunity to improve ourselves. Pre-COVID, we had a huge celebration on monarch migration. Our Parks Director, Colleen Cabezas, was involved in getting people all up and down, getting Centerpoint involved to convert and work the right-of-ways for butterfly migration, and did a lot of great improvement stuff. And that's why you see them on that top, that we have one of those boxes out there that is okay. But now it's beautiful and promotes monarchs and monarch migration. Down below, we had somebody come in, this was a scout, and said, hey, can I put up a flag retirement box? I didn't know how much demand there'd be for that, and I was a little concerned what it looked like, but everybody checked and met everything and said, well, here, you got one day to come do it and put it up. Can you do that? And they go, oh yeah. Well, they threw a whole passel full of scouts at it, and they got that thing up, and within a month there were 200 retired flags gone through that box. So people have been holding on to them, not knowing what to do. So it sits out in front of our city hall right now. So if you ever need to retire a flag, you can come to our city hall and you'll see that drop box. And you're more than welcome to use it. That's kind of one of those proud additions to our city that we're pleased to talk about. Let's go ahead. And but some changes aren't so visible. All the people you heard back there, from the chief to the finance director and everybody else, are inside that building. And they're working very hard to make sure our 1 square mile stays wonderful. But we've recently, since the last time I was here, we've added a couple of things, and one of them is a city administrator. When I started in Meadows Place as a council member, we had a mayor that was kind of part-time, and that's all we kind of needed, really. And but I took over as mayor when he quit, and I said, I can't do it that way. So I started working and made it a full-time job. And then I started learning stuff and realized, whoa, man, you got to know something to run a city. Well, the chief would pat me on the back and say, sir, can we talk? I'd say, yes. And we'd have visitations with all kind of folks. And we had a part-time bookkeeper who left and moved up to Santa Claus, Indiana. I thought that's one of the coolest things. I said, what the heck are we going to do now? And she said, I got somebody for you. Well, she introduced me to a finance director. And then everybody said, Mayor, we're just not keeping up with social media and all the time, so we need a communications director. And I thought we need somebody to run the city on a day-to-day basis that actually knows what's going on, because there's too many changes. As anybody that's even remotely tuned into politics has heard that they passed what's called the Death Star bill, which is slaughtering the rights of cities and counties across the state of Texas. Conservative, liberal, it doesn't matter. Your city's being hammered. Your county's being hammered. And there's not a whole lot we can do. The changes are coming too fast, and the legal liability options are out there. It kind of scared me. So we went out and again, that fellow I mentioned, Bob Graff, says, I know somebody that can do this job. I said, well, I can't just give him the job. I would ask for him to apply. Well, he came in and knocked the socks off the hiring panel, and he's sitting right back there in the back, and his name is Nick Havey. And Nick does a marvelous job of curtailing me and working with the staff and council. And we're just so lucky to have him. Our finance director took a part-time job and built it up to where she sits in this office all by herself, and it's real quiet. And she's not real big. She doesn't make a lot of noise when she moves around. It scares me all the time. And she comes in and said, have you got a minute? And I'm going, oh man, of course. But she grew that job from an accounting job to finding out what's going on, to how to make and move money, how to protect the city finances. And we have right now a tremendously strong but small finance department. I say small, both of them are about this tall, and know what they're doing and are able to look after it fantastically between her and her assistant, Liliana. Then we had a communication director. Well, I knew I couldn't keep up with stuff, and I wanted some more stuff, so I pounded on the table, and we hired a guy using EDC funds 1 day a week. And it was great. Such an improvement until we found out we weren't keeping up even with that. And this council started saying, come on, Mayor, we need to do something. I'm going, well, it's going to cost us a fortune. Well, my other councils had gone, we ain't spending that much money, get out of here. Well, this council said, we're ready to spend the money, let's go. So we did, and we went out, we auditioned for some folks, and we had a couple people come in with dynamite resumes and all kinds of worldly experience and all kind of venues, and then Cameron came in. Well, Cameron was from a news station, and he admittedly said, well, I don't know how to do some of this stuff, but I can learn it. But he had something that the others just didn't have. That was a heart for the city. And he's an intense guy, and he had a desire to do a good job for the city. You could just see it. And we just all said, we got to go that way. We can always fire him if we don't like him. You know, he's not my neighbor, I don't, but he came in and he talked to us about what some of his ideas and some of his visions were. And you see, if you pay any attention to Meadows Place at all, and we noticed it in-house, we're a different community than we were before Cameron came a year ago. We're utilizing our website, Instagram, what else? All that junk that Cameron puts us on. And we've got information going out, coming in all over the place. So we're actually like a real life city that's doing all the things cities need to do. Let's move on. And we do things that cities need to do. We've got boards and commissions, just like a big city. And in case you didn't know, we've got 4,767 people, and that's wrong. But there's a lot of good folk in there. And we are so fortunate and so blessed to have people with a good heart, good diverse background, sitting on our Board of Adjustment, our Planning and Zoning Commission, and our Economic Development Corporation. We've got folks with worldwide experience in various fields that all sit in there and come together to work together with one goal, and that's to serve the city of Meadows Place. It's kind of awe-inspiring if you sit down there and watch it, because they have one focus, making the city better, and that's what we do. Our EDC is filled with folks that care and that have a lot of experience. Our planning and zoning does, and we've learned that anytime the Board of Adjustment meets, we better have an attorney there, and so we do. So we're trying to run ourselves just like a big city, and as City Administrator Nick Habe says, we are a full-service city, just like these big guys. Okay. Oh, we had a great website. I really liked it. It was old, kind of like my shoes. It was familiar, and it was slow. Well, I was okay with that, but the rest of the world didn't seem to be. So we got with a company called Bizopia, and had Cameron and their design people meet, and they put together a just drop-dead website that does anything that's fast. And apparently other people look at stuff on their, it's a device, not a phone, it's a device. And we do that, and we have moved into the 21st century big time. And it's a little faster than what I'm used to handling, but it's magnificent, represents our city so well, and I'm very, very proud of it. And it took a lot of hard work. During COVID, we had to make some changes. Nobody was coming to meetings, not that they did a lot anyhow, but we had to get the information out. So like so many other cities, we took some of that free money that they gave us and brought our council chambers up to spec for sound and for audio. And we started streaming our meetings in July of 2020. So it was a technological bump. I imagine when I'm sitting there during meetings, I don't know if it's true or not, but I imagine it is. I think we're being watched by people in Antarctica and Meadows, Texas, and places like that. We conduct our meetings in a very professional manner so that we show off our city as best we can. Okay. Later on, I found out that people read this thing called Facebook. And Cameron, I know he gets tired of explaining things to me, but he says, Mary, you know, we could actually put that on Facebook Live. On what? I've never seen anything live on Facebook. He went, yeah, you probably haven't, but it is. And he talked to me for a few minutes, and so it was a no-brainer. So we went ahead and we moved up one more improvement, one more thing to add to the city to raise our standards and make it the best we can be for the people that live there. So now you can watch us live on Facebook. We've got a lot of things that we do in Meadows Place, not all big. But with Memorial Day in mind and 4th of July coming up, I want you to know that, back it up a little bit, we love, honor, and respect our veterans. And this section on the left where you see before, we put that up some years ago. And what those are is those are members that are serving the military out of that one square mile of wonderful called Meadows Place. Yeah, Gary, that's a lot, huh? We got people that do. We got a city full of doers, and it's reflected in that wall. Well, we got one retiree, the guy somewhere, one retiree that spent 20 years in it, and he asked if he could put his photo up. After spending 20 years, I wasn't going to tell him no. So we did, but My point is, we had a guy named David Poinka build that flag so we could use as the head of the display. And then Cameron was talking to a fellow named Chris Garlick, who was also instrumental in saving our school. And Chris was talking to him and said, I could do something better than that. And Cameron said, well, Mayor, can we change this? And I did some good mayor. And I went, yep, sure can. And so I got out of their way again. And Chris, and what's his son's name? Dylan. Chris and Dylan came up there on their own time, dedicated the time and materials, and built that for the city to display the photos of our active veterans. Somewhere in there, I got a kid too, I think. Yeah, he's in the Navy. I know one thing. I'm moving him from Annapolis, Maryland, down to San Diego, California. They got better bases than I ever was at in the Army, I can tell you that. Now for a little bit of fun. Parks and Recreation. We have, for a little 1 square mile city, an outstanding, an award-winning Parks Department. This is some of the territories that you see. Go back up just a little bit. I want to talk about that lake that we built in 2011. That was the summer of a drought. People were screaming at us, but we were having to pump a lot of water to irrigate. Well, we had to pay subsidence district fees. And we decided it'd be better if we took that old ant-infested field and turned it into a lake. Caught a couple breaks. The county was amenable at that time to coming in and sending us some equipment over and helping us dig that lake. A buddy of mine named Dave Elmendorf knew some people that designed golf courses and had us sit down, and we probably got about $200,000 worth of design stuff for a couple $1,000. And we ended up with a lake. And yes, it works and we have fun. It's got its own whole ecosystem, and every day that we pump water out of there, we're saving the residents of Meadows Place hard tax dollars because they're not having to pay the subsidence district fee, and we're real proud of that. And it's centered around our lake, and you can't really tell if that's a big hill up there, maybe the second highest non-freeway point in Meadows area in Fort Bend County. And somebody put a bench up there, Colleen, and I thought, well, that's a dumb, nobody ever used that. I was wrong again. People go up there and sit up all the time. I want to talk about, if I can, back one more second. If you go up in the top, on the other side of the school, you see the building there? That's the school. Just on the other side, we have a park called Helfman Park. They helped us build it, and it is an all-inclusive park for those with varying abilities. And the kids use it from the school, of course, all the time, but it's even got a wheelchair merry-go-round, and that's the coolest thing. And I've seen a couple kids in there that are wheelchair bound get in there and hold on that thing, and they have fun. But all of the park setup's got a special base and everything. And to the best of my knowledge, we were the first one to have a complete park dedicated to that type of usage. There's a lot of equipment pieces around, but we got a whole park like there. Go ahead. But as you can tell, in case you haven't got the drift, due to our size of being 1 square mile, mostly residential, sometimes we struggle with funding. And in the Parks Department's no different. And Colleen's very persuasive and is always coming for money, and I run. And she says, no. I got it figured out. I said, what do you got figured out? I said, I think we can drop this in a bond. And there's such and such. And she's always talking with Nick, and they're coming up with bond solutions. And this was out of a county parks bond. They had a little sliver of money left, and we jumped in on it, and they blessed it. And we put a brand new steel roof on that building, which is out in our facilities. Well, I'll tell you what, those things aren't cheap. And we got it redone because the other one was about 30 years old and starting to show its age and seeing a little leaking, and so we did. The one on top right, that's not a fishing dock. It may be used for fishing, but it's not a fishing dock. That is a wildlife viewing area. And if you can see the weeds and the bulrushes and all the stuff across, that is a fabulous birding area. So if you got nothing better to do, come and you want to go take a look. And we've got water birds, shore birds, and bluebirds and everything else come up all through that area. And then in the bottom left, Colleen, when are we going to finish that thing?
We start actually in 2 weeks, and it should finish by August 1st.
By August 1st? Okay. So by August 1st, we'll be finishing up our tennis court. That is the one amenity in our city that gets used probably more than anything else. There's somebody on that thing every single day. And now there's starting to have fights over the tennis courts because people want to play pickleball. So, and the pickleball people are a little more vicious than the tennis people. So I'm interested in seeing how this comes out. But we're getting ready to bust it all up, and we've just converted it all over to energy-saving LED lighting. So we're meeting the modern requirements for technology and trying to meet all the opportunities that we can for people within the city. Kurt plays pickleball, and there's a whole bunch of them. He's not one of the vicious ones, though. Although I noticed that when he's out playing pickleball, nobody's playing tennis. Go ahead. Again, and y'all know how big we are, right? Thank you. And there's not too many places 1 square mile with no money that have a Discovery and Nature Center. City of Meadows Place does. And it's interesting how we got it. I tried to buy the house adjacent to the swimming pool and lost it. The guy was Vietnamese, and I thought we had a deal. He thought I was just bugging him, and he sold the house about 3 days before we were going to have a city council meeting. I was trying to get the money. So it irked on me for about 2 or 3 years, and I saw an opportunity present itself after talking to the people that lived next door. And so they went and bought another house somewhere else, and we grabbed this thing. And I was so excited because I'd been over to Bel Air and been over to West University, and I saw what, man, those are high-stepping communities, and that's what they got. Is they got these neat pool facilities that we can be a part of. And so I told Colleen to come with me one day because we grabbed that house and got the funding for it. And I walked in and said, Colleen, and I was about to tell her that we someday we'll use it now for meeting rooms and storage, because we all need meeting rooms and storage, and that we would one day make that part of an extension on our pool. And I opened that door and stepped in and said, come on in here. And she went, oh, Mayor. I get scared when she gets excited. And she said, this will make the perfect Discovery and Nature Center. I'm sorry, Colleen, did I not tell you that this was going to be part of the pool thing? And she went, oh, look, and we could take this wall out and the garage is gone. And I'm going, I was saved because we didn't have the money to do it. So 2 weeks later, she said, Mayor, I was over to church talking to them about working jointly on some activities, and we had a guy come up to us and he wants to come see the Nature Center. I said, take him. And she came back and said, good news, he's going to do it for us. And this man's heart was moved and saw what we were doing. And I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the construction firm, but they redid it in kind, all the engineering, all the professional assistants and everything, and redid that and gutted it, rebuilt it. And now we have a phenomenal little nature center, and we got all kind of critters in there, snakes and spiders and turtles and tortoises and those little sugar gliders and goats and bunny rabbits and things for the kids to play, pet, and touch. But Colleen, how many classrooms came over to visit this year?
So we partner with our
I asked one question. How many?
We had 36.
36. And what she was, I want to make sure everybody can hear. What Colleen was beginning to tell you, she partners with the school. And I don't know if you know this, but Meadows Elementary has partnered with us. They get with Colleen, and if they're going to talk about Native Americans, or if they're going to talk about science, or if they're going to, whatever they are, Colleen gets together with the teachers. They put together this whole bunch of paperwork and all the stuff, and sometimes it's color and sometimes it's big, and they put it together, and she puts the whole thing together, and the teachers walk in and they spend half a day there. They walk them over. They're engaged in schoolwork, although it looks fun, and then they walk them back. And I'm telling you, the teachers love it, the kids love it, and I'm very, very proud of that. And I'll tell you what, that's the kind of stuff we need to be recognized, because it's efforts like that on behalf of all the kids in that school and our city that have make our little city a little bit greater. And so, Colleen, I didn't mean to shut you down, but I was too excited. So thank you very, very much for all you do in that area. Has anybody ever heard of something like that going on? No, didn't think so. But that little thing in the bottom, that's another thing that I saw that and right away. Well, that won't work. And I took my grandkids over there, and we got all kind of stuff on our photo frame where they're wearing the hats and they're climbing on this and they're doing that, and they've got like a country store there and all the stuff that you would see from an old Western area set up, and it was amazing. And to see them using their imaginations and exchanging information, that's what we want to promote out of our Parks Department as well, and we're doing it. Then we got this adventure summer camps going on. Last I heard, we were about 80% full, and summer's just starting. So we do that on a daily basis too. I didn't have the deal with that, so I didn't know how successful that'd be. It is huge, hugely successful, and so well received by our parents and our community. Okay. City events and opportunities, man, we throw a great party. We do. You'll see here in just a second. How do we get that concert in Park Dealey up? Can we do that, Cameron? Sorry. Can we make that video big or no? No, that's just the size it's going to be. Well, squint. This covers most of our city, and it's we're closing down our spring series concert. Every spring we have a series of concerts in the park, and then at the other end, that's our splash pad. I forgot all about the splash pad. Talk about something that'll tick parents off. They go up there with their kids in clean clothes, they forget about that thing, and boom, they're a mess. But that's at the other end where we go and open up the pool for the summer that day. And you saw a picture of Kirk Kopczynski here a second ago at a barbecue pit. He and David cooked up about 400 hamburgers and hot dogs for the city. And boy, I'll tell you what, Tia was telling me the other day, how it just makes her glow when some stranger walks up and says, well, how much do we owe for the hamburgers? Nothing. The city is providing this today. And it's like, well, why? Just to say thank you for being part of our city and being part of it and engaging in the community. And it brings people together, and we're very proud of the events that we have. There's just too many to mention, but so I've got a list here I'll hand out later. No, I'm kidding. But let's move on. This is more of a parks. I'm really sorry Rick Stagley's not here. Rick Stagley serves on our city council and is our volunteer project coordinator. He doesn't mean to be, but that's what he is. And Rick and Nick and Colleen and the chief of police, Gary Stewart, were all getting together, and they had a confab and came up with this idea. And this over here in the right in the purple, that's Houston. We don't care about them, except right now we do. because that's a trail that isn't there. And we intend to get it there. And it's going to hook up that orange trail, which is in Meadows Place, which goes on down to the yellow, which is Stafford. Okay, and that Stafford will take you over to the fountains. And David got all excited the other day when we were talking about it because he's a bicyclist. And he'll be able to get on there in the fountains and take off and ride down the medical center or the zoo or all the way to University of Houston, if we can get Houston to do that. And we're actually working with them right now, and in all probability they will put a bridge across there and hook up. I just don't know how soon. But that is a great walking area. We've put a lot of work into that and everything. So go to the next slide. This is just a little highlight of that. One of the things that I want to come up with, look in the middle, is the proposed parking lot. We have, and you'll just see a front shot of it in a second, a fantastic emergency operations center and training center. It actually can serve as a dual city hall. If our city hall got blown up or blown over in a hurricane, we could actually operate right out of that city and never miss a beat. We can take care of all the work right over there. Plus, we do everything in training there, from actual physical cop training to training with all kind of different regional aspects of law enforcement, with public works, et cetera, that come train in our facility. We got a wall about from there to here. We painted that whole wall, and it's some kind of a laser sensitive light, so we can run these laser tag type gun operations on there, and it works, and the cops love it. And we've had National Guard people in there and everybody else training in our facility in that little bitty 1 square mile. You can drive by it on West Airport and so you can see it, but there's not enough parking, so we're going to park there. If we can get that parking lot. And that whole thing started because the chief said, we need a parking lot. And I know. So we went to get one, and then I thought, well, what do I want? I want a bridge. I want a bridge over here. And if you see that little red 2 dots there, that's a bridge. It's a beautiful bridge. Colleen designed that bridge with the people, and it's going to be gorgeous. And what's going to happen is those kids are going to walk out of that school, and instead of going out on the street and walking down and around, they're going to meander through, and as they cut through the right-of-way there at Center Point right-of-way, we're going to have all kind of educational park information stuff and flowers and this, that, and stuff they come in. And then they're going to get to a bridge, and who doesn't like to walk across a bridge, right? And that little bridge is going to have a sign saying Meadows Place Bayou, because that is officially registered, and we're not making this up. Sounds like we are, but we're not. As Meadows Place Bayou. It is an official registered waterway. And so Stafford had to go along with us about that, and then they had to go before their city council, and they went, what are you doing now, Jessup? And I went, just hear me out. And so they did, and then we moved on. So, but Meadows Place has got a lot of little things like that going. Keep going, next one. One of the things, I lost my place. One of the things that happened was our baseball fields got kind of pretty torn up when they rebuilt the school. And so we took that opportunity, and it cost us a chunk of money, but we had the baseball fields done right. And so, as you can see, we've got 2 ball fields, one for one age and one for another. And I can tell you, when those kids get out there and they play baseball, they play kickball, they play all kinds of sports during the school year, and it is very, very highly utilized all year long. And so it was worth the investment. Besides that, nobody broke an ankle out there in center field. You can see that scoreboard. That was a great acquisition. Didn't have that when I was coaching over there. But then it kind of like a lot of our stuff started to fade away and get old. And so what we do in Meadows Place is we look at stuff like that and say, how do we make it better? And it's time. And that's just evidence of it. We got a new one, and some got Oak Story Realty. Kirk, you familiar with them?
Heard of it.
I heard they're a pretty good operation. Anyway, they're on there, and we're shining as we redo from left to right. And that's the way Meadows Place operates. And I just wanted to illustrate that. Go ahead. Oh yeah, this is another one. This is another little gig that we do. This was a long time ago, and wow, I got dizzy. What is this, 4th of July? This is 4th of July. This is just another one, a party that we throw. I love that scene. That's why I left this in here. It's just great. They were showing off a bit, but again, we throw a good party, and any of you are welcome at any time. Just keep a mind on it. And our folks get out and participate. They get engaged, and we have fun. She's fantastic. Okay, let's go. But again, not everything's big. But we're always trying to improve ourselves, to raise our standards, to improve what's coming out. And we needed to communicate better. And we had this marquee out there that, I don't know, is probably as old as me. And you had to lift it up, and you had to hold it and put the letters in. If the wind was blowing, you get smacked around pretty bad. Well, we upgraded it, and did we use EDC money on that? I don't remember. I think we did. I think we used some EDC money and built this out and got us a new digital marquee. And this is where Cameron can sit down there in his home and build a sign and put it on there. And so it's that type of technology. And we use it as one of the means to communicate with our city. We've got digital, all kind of stuff. And so let's go and move on. Meadows Place is to visit. Remember that lake we were looking at? That's a big fish. You can keep those catfish. So if you want a fish fry, that's not a bad place to get them. The bass down there, you have to throw that back. You can keep the trout in December when they Parks and Wildlife do, but you have to throw the bass and the brim back. That bass is, I don't know, a little less than 12 pounds.
How much less,
About 7 pounds less, but it's still a big fish. But it's a lot of fun, and you see folks out there all the time enjoying the fishing within it. And Colleen does a good job working with our Public Works Director to keep the water level up because we use it every day to irrigate. So it's tough. But anytime y'all want to do that, come on by. Go ahead. Not everything is fun. How much time I got? I didn't look. I got 13 minutes. Okay, I'll hurry. Not everything is fun and games. Meadows Place is, go ahead. You know, we're pushing 50 years old. And it's about putting out the basic fundamental necessities for our residents. And those are things like water, sewer, streets, sidewalks, all of which we are judged on daily as people walk over and drive over them and see them. When they turn on their faucets and flush their toilets. And we do a pretty darn good job of maintaining this stuff for a little 1 square mile city with no money. Okay? And we have increased over the past few years the amount that we spend on our roads because they're getting old. And they weren't quite the standards that they had when they were put in that there are today. But we, our Public Works Director, and I'm really sorry he's not here, is named Rod Haney. And he's one of the reasons that we're able to stay on top of stuff so good. He plans things very, very well and does it. Go ahead. One of the things he's having to plan for is we got 40 to 50-year-old water wells. And Rod had tried to plan things out, and he had these things on a 5-year CIP plan, and we looked at it 2 budget years ago, and it was out about 5 years to 7 years, and we were going to start saving some money and then putting it away to be able to redo our water wells and hopefully avoid having to drill a new one, because that's about $1.2 million just to drill a new well. So we were all tickled with ourselves, patted ourselves on the back as we left the budget going, hey, we're prepared. We're doing all kind of good stuff. And well, a few months ago, one of the wells collapsed, cratered, and we had to go fishing. And not fishing, downhole fishing. Well, surprise, we didn't last 5 years. A few months later, and $750,000 unexpected dollars later, which was less than what we could have been. We're happy about that. Well, our wells are, 2 of them are redone, and 1 of them, if it isn't finished, it'll be finished this week or next. And so we're in good shape. And I'm real proud of that, because I had good water all the time I lived there. And when I leave, I want the residents to have good water for another 50 years. And with what we just did with that, we should have. And this council had some tough decisions to make. I don't get a vote, so that time was okay for me. But it was tough dealing with Nick Habe and our financial director, Anna Marie Weston, wore out some number 2 pencils trying to figure everything out and get it done so they could bring us data to make those hard choices with. I have to admit, sweating a little bit on this one. Moving on. But we have a wastewater treatment plant that Rod said, I think we're going to have to redo this sooner than what we had on the CIP. And sure enough, we had a bridge crater, and bridge is what stirs the flock, gets it all where it'll all digest and work. And it cratered on us. Well, TCEQ doesn't like that. And you can get in really bad trouble. So we're scrambling. We're doing what we can. We're maintaining. It's costing us more money and a whole lot more effort, but we're able to maintain. And we're trying to figure out, well, we went out to bid, and we completed the bid. We're ready to let the project, but we haven't quite figured out the money. But we're going to be doing something this month probably, if it means shifting some money around, and we all go to trade shows and snag pens and pencils for the office to use, but we're going to come up with a way to do it. And we are, Commissioner's sitting here and he already knows this. We're scrambling for any unattached ARPA money. So if you happen to find some on the floor, thank you, Commissioner. Don't cash it, right? No, thank you. But I did have to put in that plug. Anyway, so those things are the tough parts of running a city. And they do, and they're real, especially when you start getting old. And some of you that live in newer neighborhoods don't have to worry about that for a while. Well, when I moved in there, I didn't have to worry about it either. Well, now I do. And so do these council members and that staff. So we're all doing the best we can, and I'm confident, because the people are in that row and these council members, that we're going to come out with a feasible solution, and most of our residents won't even have a clue how much struggle we have. Go ahead. Kirkwood project. We had to rebuild Kirkwood. A few years back, we attached this to a part of a county mobility bond project. And we had, for those that have been around a while, we had 4 sets of stop signs going through Meadows Place. Everybody made fun of us. I hated that. Got made fun of on the radio. I hated that. And we're coming up, and Rick Stagley said, we can't do it the same way, but we got to redo it. So we got it on the bond, and I said, okay, what are we going to do? He said, I want to offer a suggestion of roundabouts. I said, next. And he said, your stop signs won't pass a warrant. They won't pass muster. And you're going to be liable if you put them in there with the knowledge that they don't pass warrant. So we did some studying and looking at it, and it was a tough design. And now it's the best road to drive on outside that one over there in San Francisco that goes like that. It's just a lot of fun. It's a lot faster. It's beautiful thanks to our Parks Department. Although it got beat up in the freeze, it's back to being beautiful now. So that was an award-winning, and not only did we did a video on it that won a couple of different awards, and we did, and the roundabout project itself on Kirkwood won the Best Roundabout Project in Texas award. So we're pretty proud of that. Not bad for a little 1 square mile city, huh? There's a lot going on. I know it. I got 7 minutes. Chief, you're going to get shorted again, and I'm sorry. But go ahead and take a peek at that. We're redoing Dorrance. That's the one main street through City Meadows Place. And we just redid 1,000-something foot of it for $1 million. So if you wonder how much the road cost, step off 1,000 bucks and go 1 million, or step off another 1,000 feet, go 2 million. But we finished the first project part of the project. We're going to go on. We've got phase 2. We got a little bit thing of wastewater treatment plant that we need to deal with as far as when we're going to fund it. But we've got it engineered, and we're going to do the whole thing throughout the city, and it is going to be beautiful, and it is nice. Go ahead. But none of all that matters if people don't live or feel safe, and we feel safe. We are safe. You can tell that when you go look and you have little old ladies like my wife out walking after dark without a worry. When you have people coming up there by themselves, walking the track, not worried. Have kids riding bikes and walking to school. They're not worried. It's because we're safe. You won't find another city, I don't believe, that's got officers sitting out in front of its school, elementary school, like we do. We got 1, sometimes 2 officers there every day when those kids are on their way to school. And Chief, we've caught some bad guys that didn't belong there, haven't we? We found them a new address. But we are safe. We got 24/7 fire and EMS. That fire station is ours. That my predecessor and the councils that thereof had. We came into a windfall. They got some money, and we had a lot to spend it on. And somebody said, "You know, what do you think about building a new fire station?" And we went, "Ooh, but that means we won't be able to get this, and this." Yeah, but we built it. We were looking ahead because that's our history and that's our culture. Look ahead, improve, get better, prepare for the future, and we did. We put that building up and had no clue how much it was going to mean. Now we've got 24/7 fire protection services there. And not many places do our size especially. And we had that when a lot of cities in this area didn't have it. And the other we took out, and that was the chief's training room. And we put a lot of work and effort into that. Man, it was great. And I gave it away. And on the promise that we'd build another one someday, which we did. But that now houses EMS. And so we've got fire and EMS all within a mile of anybody in City Meadows Place. So when that phone rings, we're about 2.5 minute response time, and that's pretty good. Go ahead. Oh, this is, yeah, we're going to have to skip this. Y'all are going to have to go online and find it. That's a neat video. Sorry. That is a new police vehicle that I said, what is the world are you talking about, Chief? He said, why don't you go try to patrol behind that lake at night? What are you going to go? Well, you can't. Well, yeah, now we can. And so we looked, we got that, and that's got the lights on it. That's got, I mean, it's a cop rig. And so I went one night about 10 o'clock and jumped on with Matthew and one of his officers, and we took off, and we spent, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes maybe, touring around. He showed me how he toured up and down all the trails out behind the lake, and we're coming up, and we found the car that was sitting someplace that they shouldn't have been. But they were smart. They could see the road until we pulled up here and he turned on all the lights. It was a lot of fun. We just asked them to move. They did in a hurry. Go ahead. One of the things that we did, and the chief is, and I want you all to meet Jerry Brownlee. Jerry's the one in between me and the chief. Jerry has worked so hard to get us equipment and things that we couldn't afford if we were running out of general fund budget, but he gets it in grants. And we've got police vests and rifle shields and many other things as he's pulled in over $1 million of grants in his tenure there. Thank you, Chief, and thank Jerry, and let him know his picture was up there, will you? And we're not charging him for it. Go ahead. But our cops are involved in all aspects. If you could have seen some of these videos, our cops are all in there. But we had coffee with a cop. Oh, this was a lot of fun. When people pulled up at Starbucks and had a Meadows police officer hand them their coffee, it generated some conversation. It generated a lot of laughs. It was a lot of fun. What really got me was when that hit social media, thanks to Cameron and those techie people, and they wanted to know, what in the world are we doing buying our chief of police a Corvette? It was just a marketing ploy by on-site decals, so, but it was effective, I promise. Go ahead. Meals on Wheels is something that our police officers done. 2 minutes? Oh, I can do this, no problem. But they get out and they visit and they build relationships with all these folks that are sometimes, some of them are homebound, and this is the only relationship they have. Go ahead. That building started with Chief and I having a cup of coffee, and he started drawing it off on a napkin. And that is one amazing training and emergency operations center. It functions just like the one down in Fort Bend County or the one over in Houston, and it's great. Go ahead. And this shows that we're involved in many different aspects. Chief, this was Operation Sapphire. That was for regionally for picking up human trafficking. Was that a successful operation?
Yes, sir. We were able to recover and save 16 victims of human trafficking, 10 arrests, and some of those pretty egregious charges.
And that was being operated right out of City Meadows Place Operations Center. So we're going to get involved, and we want to participate. Go ahead. Our PD's grown as our city's gotten more tech involved, so have they. Chief and Cameron got together and put together a Meadows Place Police Department Facebook page so people can get in there and make comments and ask questions and make contact with the PD. And it's working pretty well. And I have a lot of fun reading it myself. Go ahead. What's next for Meadows Place? Well, we're going to continue the same path that we've been on. We're going to work hard. We're going to look at the future. We're going to figure out a way to best spend our funding to best serve the most people in the best way we can. And we're going to make decisions, and that's the bottom line, on how it will impact us today, but be more forward in our thinking to see, just like that fire station has served us well. So, anything else? Chris, did I make it? All right, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank
It's
you,
always a
Rebecca.
pleasure, Mayor, to have you here. We appreciate hearing about that 1 square mile of wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Very good.